Hello, welcome to my video blog where we sit at the intersection of faith, LGBT, and Christian communities. Today I want to talk to you about the inclusion of LGBT in Christian communities and that whole belief and process. Let's start out in Matthew 7 with the golden rule. So whatever you wish that others would do to you, do also to them, for this is the law and the prophets. So, do we wish on other people involuntary celibacy? Do I wish that you did not have a wife, that you did not have kids, that you did not have a relationship, and that's how you lived? Do I wish that upon you? Now, do you wish that upon me? And that's one of the things that we need to really think about, is that there's no really reciprocity here in what's being asked. Are you really wishing what other people would do to you? No, I don't think you are, if you're not affirming. And this kind of definitely played out within the marriage debate, because the biblical marriage versus gay marriage versus civil unions. Let's first start out with the actual ruling. The ruling said, the Obergefell or whatever, Obergefell, whatever. The ruling said that marriage was a right, and that was reiterating something mentioned in the 1960s with interracial marriage. And if it is a right, what is suitable for the gay person? And they talked about mixed marriages, and they believed those were not suitable. They were not equivalent to straight marriages or heterosexual ones, and they were actually pretty damaging to a lot of people's lives. So that's kind of the ex-gay community. And now, did they think singleness was a equal right, was a suitable alternative? And the court said no, marriage is a right. So then it went into civil unions. Civil unions were originally pushed as ways of giving gays burial rights, as giving gays the right for certain tax benefits, though not always, and at least 200 different legal things, like power of attorney and hospital visits. Now, would I wish that you couldn't visit your wife in the hospital? Would I wish that you couldn't go to her funeral because her family was against you? No, I don't wish that on anyone. And that is kind of what happened. So I've come to believe that non-affirming a belief and practice, as it has been in the United States, has been against the golden rule. Next, let's talk about the narrow and wide gates. I believe being affirming in LGBTism, in LGBT people, is the narrow gate. It actually costs more of your friends, of your family, and of who you can interact with to be narrow gate. It is actually much more popular to be non-affirming, at least here in the Bible Belt. So verse 13, enter by the narrow gate, for the gate is wide and the way is easy that leads to destruction. Those who enter it are many. For the gate is narrow and hard that leads to life, and those who find it are few. So those who are Christian, who ultimately are moved by their convictions about the morality of it to affirm the LGBT, they are very few, and they are given a hard life because they are being shunned by their other Christian brothers in Christ. Or they're being shunned because they're LGBT. So it is more difficult than easy to embrace the LGBT. And you have churches that have changed, and as a result, a lot of the changed from non-affirming to let's have a multitude of positions. So let's allow a debate. There's been churches that have moved there, and what happens oftentimes is the ones that are like, oh, it's biblical, now you're against the Bible, we're leaving, for just allowing the debate. And so then you have people who are open to the debate, but then it's a hard one. It took me, I've been a Christian about 15 years, and it took me at least 3 of them to process through the LGBT thing. And it's kind of not always fair on people to expect them to process it so quickly within a community. So the point is that it is not easy, but rather it's hard. And in some ways, I also believe it's rewarding to really figure out what God says and to share his heart on a lot of matters. So it's a lot easier for a church to be non-affirming. Though the truth is, if we actually go behind the scenes, 1/3 of the people who leave church leave because of the LGBT topic. And that's what I think Barna research has actually said, because everyone knows someone who's gay these days. Used to not always be that way because people were in the closet, and the church could hold more of a ecclesiastical power over the topic. But when people have opened up, like Harvey Milk wanted to, it got humanized in a way that it never was before. So, the point is churches are not losing anything short term by being non-affirming. Long term, I think they are. And if you make that change, you have to go to who's actually causing the division and who's leaving. And you're going to find it's the non-affirming crowd that's causing the division and leaving. And the affirming crowd within that transition is going to be hurt and shell-shocked from it. They're going to experience broken relationships, much like the LGBT are forced to. And they're going to have to share in the suffering of the LGBT. And a lot of people don't want to do that. Rather, they want to be the cause. Finally, beware. I want to continue on Matthew 7. Beware of the false prophets who come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly are ravenous wolves. You will recognize them by their fruits. Are grapes gathered from thorn bushes, or figs from thistles? So every healthy tree bears good fruit, but the diseased tree bears bad fruit. A healthy tree cannot bear bad fruit. A diseased tree cannot bear good fruit. Every tree that does not bear good fruit is cut down and thrown in the fire. Thus you will recognize them by their deeds. So here we have, don't always judge the actions, but judge their effects. And if we were to judge the effects of non-affirming belief on the LGBT, we would see high suicide rates, we would see high amounts of substance abuse, and we would see a lot of broken families, which these are all bad fruit. And we must actually think about where this fruit is coming from. And a lot of times it's easy to believe it's coming from the religious community. They are the ones that are the most strong against allowing homosexuality. Though you do have secular families that are also against it as well. But you have to ask yourself, is this really good fruit? And what is good fruit? It's peaceful, it's pure, it's kind, it's sincere, it's impartial. And I think God's behind it. And the truth is, I don't think it's good fruit. I think it's a revival of Phariseeism, where the kingdom of heaven's being shut in some people's faces. And the people who shut it in their faces are themselves not going in. They're the source of the bad fruit. And the thing is, in a non-affirming church, usually it's only a handful of people that cause trouble, and then a handful of people are kind of on the fence. It's like, whatever. But that's kind of my opinion. Some people are cool, some are not. And so anyway, when we all get around to it, the people who are secure and solid are the ones who build their house on the Lord. And of course we know that Jesus did not really address homosexuality. He did address eunuchs. And as such, we should kind of think that's kind of funny, because homosexuality was a lot more practiced in the ancient world. What Jesus seemed to focus on was the adulterers, the prostitutes, the ones who were being exploited, and the ones who were treated poorly in society. And I think the LGBT still exists there, even in societies that they're accepted. There was a study in Sweden at one point about employment discrimination, where they had a straight person and a gay person with similar qualifications interview, and there was a bias towards the straight person versus the gay one, and that was kind of interesting. So I think it's just because if someone's different from you and you don't understand it, you treat them differently, and some of that I think is human nature, but in Christ I think we're called to go beyond that. I'll leave you with that.